All right, well, welcome back. This is Chad Everett Bro Shears. I am the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. That's a YouTube channel with a couple other platforms that I work off of. Today's going to be the first day that I actually go live on Facebook with the channel. I just came back from running some errands. I'm doing some work on my home. So computer's telling me I've got a little bit of a delay here, or lag. It's telling me I'm a few seconds behind, but all right, I'm going to go with it for now and see how this actually turns out. So I've long since really fought against the idea or the position of tearing other people down, the crabs in the bucket versus ants in a bucket. To give you the analogy on that, why I'm saying what I'm saying here is, there is a old question: are you ants in a bucket or crabs in a bucket? And for those that haven't heard this or really heard the deeper version of it, what they're talking about is ants in a bucket help each other turn into a chain and they get themselves out of the situation. If you leave ants in a bucket overnight, you come back to it the next day, you're likely not to find anything in it. Crabs, on the other hand, once one makes a way to being able to get out, others grab it, pull it back down as they're trying to get themselves out. So usually we'll find that the majority of the crabs that were in the bucket the night before are there still the following day. How this is related to life directly is that a lot of us spend time just waiting for something to criticize about another because we're so stuck in complacency, or we don't like other people finishing before us or doing something before us. It's a crappy place to be in because it argues for complacency. We can easily just start saying, okay, well, I may not be able to support you in other ways here, but I can at least sit on the sidelines and say, I appreciate that you're doing something for yourself. But instead, we get people that would rather sit back and fight with you, or to tell you how you're wrong, or that since you didn't pick up their mantle and move forward with it, then all of a sudden, you're wasting your time, or they just are disinterested in the success that you may actually accomplish. Not saying be interested in everybody's success either. It's up to you. You can learn things in the process. So today, on my way over to to go pick up some things for the house as I'm working on it, I passed a gentleman that was he was sitting on the side behind a 7-Eleven that with a sign that says he was hungry, and I drove past him and thought to myself, I can do something here. Instead of just saying, well, try harder or whatever, which is the common theme that a lot of people put into that place. I turned around and went over and I parked, walked over to him and told him, I was like, hey, go ahead and grab your things. We're going to go inside here. I'm going to get you some food. Now, I'm not telling you that because it's a brag, because it's not. And I actually, even argued with telling people in my life that I even did this, other than, if anything else, maybe inspire somebody to try it. So I went inside with him and I talked to him a bit, just to find out what his plight is. And, I bought him, a couple of sandwiches, a couple of bags of chips, and, whatever. When we got to the counter, he, grabbed out a bag of gummy worms, and told him, I was like, if you want them, you can have them. I mean, this is, if anything else, perhaps you just need to see that somebody else cares enough that maybe this will open up a new avenue for you. We talked a bit more, he's, skilled trades person and things like that. But obviously there's something that's still missing there. And we talked a little bit more about things. And as I talked to him, he said that he had a Mercedes at one point, he bought and paid for, and his house was completely paid off at one point. I didn't actually ask him what happened because I felt that one might have been a bit intrusive, and I could have asked. I just didn't want to go there with him. I'd rather just be in the present moment, if nothing else. He didn't have any of the standard things that typically you would see with somebody that may have a pretty heavy drug addiction or alcohol addiction. He didn't show any of those signs. He just looked like he was worn a bit from being outside. And I talked to him a little more, and he's telling me about all the the skills that he has and the things that he's done. And from there, I'm like, perhaps there's something that's missing here, that may be developmentally missing, that at some point in time he may have had, as a child, and you're taught to, do something and go all the way through the process in order to complete the task. Perhaps somebody interfered in that process of him going through and completing a task. It's not uncommon, and actually that's a more common variable in our lives. It just doesn't always land in the same place for the person. So, yeah, it's it's one of the things that we commonly like to sit back and just make some sort of assumption about that person, about how they lack a specific skill set or a particular amount of effort or something like that. We make up a story, but we ourselves have deficiencies in our life. There's a good deal of us that have functional lives but still have deficiencies. So what was in my mind as I was chatting with this gentleman was, perhaps what we really need to do is to kind of create more of a unity through maturity. I've been putting my life's work out on the channel growing up in the wilds of Suburbia because I was tired of just holding on to it and waiting till I had the polished product. It's not the polished product, but it is how I see the world, and it does have a great deal of value for the people that I've talked to about it. In the 8 different areas of maturity, I've found that it's much more illuminating for people to look at life a little differently, get out of the perspectives that we currently live in that tell us the right or wrongs overall and make us jump to these decisions and these judgments. This gentleman obviously was pretty happy that I had an interaction with him today, and I'm hopeful that his future endeavors will end up giving him the consistency and dependability of his work to give stability. That's something that time will show. But from that conversation, and I did share with him what my life's work has been and what I am doing to try to help all of community, regardless of race, regardless of gender, preferences, sexuality, or anything like that. I don't care about any of those things, your political party or any of that. I don't care. I do care about long-term consequences of ideas, but not so much that I would attack a person for their ideas, but more towards understanding what they believe in a way that we might have some rational discourse, and perhaps it'll enlighten me. So this video is one of my shorter ones. This is just purely my interest and intention to make a difference without, I'm not trying to, become the world's next most financially wealthy person. I really want to see us all come together and stop this bickering and this righteousness and this division that we have overall, and do something together. There's people that have retired that have lifelong skill sets that I've heard people say, well, COVID-19 is the boomer killer and we just need to make more room and blah, blah, blah. When I hear that, I'm like, it's such a heartless statement. It's such a selfish, narcissistic, sociopathic, or even psychopathic statement. It's destructive. Those individuals that you may not care much for have absolute skill sets. Just because you're not connecting with them, don't sit back and play this victim role where you're waiting for somebody else to connect with you. That's something you're just going to constantly be waiting for, the lottery opportunities of somebody else giving you the break. No, don't ask for the break, make one. Work for something in a way that gives you what you want to see as a return overall. I'm not on this channel is not dedicated to making people wrong overall as if I know the right ways of doing life all the way around. It's more dedicated to just creating insight and discourse and the opportunity to come together even when we disagree. There's plenty of things that we can do in our society to help each other out. Today's act for me is not an absolute rare occasion that I never do. I don't ever really give money, but I'd rather have the person go get food with me. I'd rather talk to them. Is there a person, just because they may not be in the same financial classification, or they may not have taken a shower at the same frequency that I have, or whatever that thing is, doesn't mean that I'm going to make them wrong for it. I want to connect with that person, and perhaps there's something that can be done. If it is something that may be in the lines of a mental illness, then perhaps that I might be able to actually get somebody in touch with them, or them in touch with somebody to help them. If it happens that maybe they bought into this narrative that the world doesn't give a damn about them, or that capitalism is evil, so therefore revolt, or whatever the thing is that's the mental structure that has them, the ideology that's possessed them. Maybe that conversation will just start fracturing enough light into it that maybe they'll see things a little bit differently and maybe give up an old gripe. Who knows? I don't care really where the person is as much as where we can go together. And that's it. I'm not going to go on much longer on this video for the time being. Anyone that has caught on, watched it, anything like that, I appreciate your time. We're all in this thing together, no matter how far apart you feel that we are. We can work on something to create long-lasting nonviolent unity, something that can really make a beautiful civilization, something that would make a beautiful location. I live in, a city that is not known for being, the place that people want to retire in. I interact in an area in a county that's typically talked about as being one of the lower educated and lacking teeth and constantly on, what is that? One of the police shows. It's not Police, but, I forgot which one it is. It's another one that came out recently. And it actually did have quite a few episodes in my county. We have challenges here, but I really feel that the majority of our challenges, and my studies have also led me to this point, is when I say studies, both academically and electively, studied motives, sociology, psychology, things like that. I find that a lot of it is a lacking of maturity, and it's not a negative. It's not the scarlet letter of negative. It's nothing like that. Lacking maturity means that you just haven't had the exposure enough to develop or grow, or the encouragement to grow. That's pretty much it. And we can overcome that. We can overcome even arrogant ignorance with the opportunity of maturity. Now, ignorance by itself, everyone, it's innocence. It is a lack of exposure to something. Arrogant ignorance is somebody that is arrogant about not knowing something and they refuse to learn, and that to me is the functional definition of stupid, not ignorance. And lacking maturity is not against you. I look at it even if the person's in their 30s. If they're acting like a 3-year-old, I see that there's a possibility that that person was up to developing when they were 3, and that particular area that's now showing through was stunted for some reason. Could have been, an overpossessive mother, as Freud would call the Oedipus mother. It could be, helicopter parenting to some degree, or something that was over-sheltering, or punished the child for trying things out, cracking an egg on the floor as an experiment to the child, but the adult looks at the mess versus the scientific experiment the child just produced. Seeing what happens whenever you see a solid shape for a child and then cracking the egg and realizing that there's a liquid inside of it. Oh well. That's where I'm at with this. I really hope that this is met with more of an open mind and a desire to join in on the growth. It's a unity through maturity. We can accomplish this stuff as long as we just don't play like crabs in a bucket. Be ants with me. We can all get out of this thing and we can get into something amazing where we all can have something wonderful. And we stop complaining about the elite class that managed to figure out how to do this in a way that, even if it's generations before or now, they figured out something that made them successful and they've taught it through their family generations. We can do the same thing. You don't have to be my bloodline in order to have that benefit, and vice versa, if we tap into this thing and do it together. All right, with that, again, this is Chad Everett Brochures. I am the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. If you haven't checked out the channel yet, it's on YouTube under that title. Subscribe to it, like it, share this video with those that you feel would really benefit from it. That person that's in your life that you're like, this can help them. I don't know everything, and I'm not always right, but I damn sure am okay with figuring out how to be right